The MRCP PACES exam is probably the most difficult medical exam you will take in your career as a medic. I really wish I could have told you it's, in fact, not that difficult and there's a way around it, but there isn't. What I will say, however, is that with the right preparation, and most importantly, with the right mindset, it's more than doable. You've probably passed the written parts of your MRCP, and you're now searching up and down YouTube, wondering how to start PACES prep. And that brought you to me. So let's get into it. Watch till the end of the video and we'll go over everything that you need to know to get started, and we'll formulate a step-by-step preparation plan. MRCP PACES is the practical part of the MRCP exam, and often the last step before becoming both a member of the Royal College of Physicians and a medical registrar. So, who can take the exam? Those that have already passed either MRCP Part 1 or both Parts 1 and 2 written. You could take PACES before MRCP Part 2 written. However, the Royal College strongly advises to take both written exams and have at least 2 years postgraduate experience with some internal medicine experience under your belt before attempting PACES. I personally took PACES during my second year of internal medicine training after taking both Parts 1 and 2 written. Is there a waiting list? Depending on whether you're in training or not, there might be a waiting list. PACES applicants in the UK are prioritized based on their training needs. They're put into 4 categories based on whether they're in internal medicine or ACCS training and what year of training they're in. Those not in training in the UK are put in the 4th category. And so there can be months of waiting time. So if you're not in training program, it's worth applying early. Non-UK centres also prioritise their local trainees first. I applied during my second year of IMT in the UK. That put me in category 2, and thus I was not in a waiting list. The PACES exam happens in 3 diets every year, each of these ranging 3 to 4 months. So for example, if your application is for the first diet gets accepted, then you'll receive an examination date sometime from January to March. Exams take place at multiple centres in the UK and currently at 16 different international locations. What's the exam structure? Now, the exam is just over 2 hours long and made up of 5 stations, each 20 minutes with 5 minutes of rest in between. You could be thrown onto the PACES carousel at any of the stations, and you rotate every 5 minutes, going through all the 5 stations. The stations are either one long consultation station, where you have 20 minutes to take a history from your patient, to do relevant clinical examination, and discuss a plan with the patient, and afterwards presenting it to your examiner. Or there are 2 shorter 10-minute encounters. These could be clinical examination stations, where you're expected to do a full clinical examination and present your relevant findings to the examiner and discuss your plan of action. There are 4 examination stations: respiratory, cardiovascular, neurology, and abdominal. The other shorter encounters you will come across are communication stations, where you sit with an actor, which is either a patient or a relative in the scenario, and has a question or a concern which you will have to address. This is the only encounter type where you do not have real patients. The rest of the encounters are real patients with real signs. Now, how are you graded? You're graded on 7 different skills. So it's very important to discuss each of these skills, because you need to score above the passing grade for every skill to pass the exam. This means that you don't necessarily have to pass all the stations as long as you pass in all the individual skills. This is very important to identify which of the 7 skills you're weak at and to improve on. In each skill, you're either given a score of 2 satisfactory, 1 borderline, or 0 unsatisfactory. The first skill is physical examination. This is simply how well you can demonstrate a good clinical examination. Follow the proper sequence of clinical examination, not missing any steps, and you will score very well in this skill. If you're rusty with physical examination, do it over and over and over again until you perfect your routine and can complete it in 5 minutes. A good friend of mine told me when I was preparing that if you can do the examination steps backwards, then you know you're ready. So find a friend, a colleague, your partner, anyone really, and practice examination routine regularly. The second skill is identifying physical signs. This is quite self-explanatory and one of the skills many candidates really struggle with. There is really no way around it. You need to find the correct physical signs, present them to the examiner. To improve in picking up correct physical signs, you have to practice. Now, go and examine as many patients as you can. Treat every clinical examination you do at work as an exam station. If it's a cardio case, time yourself, do a full cardiovascular examination, and then present your findings to your registrar, to your consultant. Frequently go to PACES teaching at your hospital. Pair up with others preparing for PACES. And if you examine a patient with positive signs, let your friends know. Or even better, make or join a PACES group at your hospital. The third skill is clinical communication. This is how well you take a history from the patient and explain your findings to the examiner. This skill is not tested in the examination stations. Improve this skill by actively listening to patients and to practice taking more histories. I personally found that SDEC, same-day emergency care, is great to improve this skill. Again, you can time yourself. Time yourself for 20 minutes. Try to take a full history in 8 minutes and examine it in 6. Identify whether you're able to take a thorough history in 8 minutes and you're covering all your bases. History of present illness, past medical history, surgical, social history, medications, review of system, and etc. Are you finishing on time? Are you actively listening? Do you lose focus? These are all things you could test and improve. The fourth skill is differential diagnosis. This is also a skill that candidates often struggle with. Offer a reasonable list of differentials. It's very important to categorize and keep it to 3 or 4 categories. For example, you do a lower limb examination and you identify a spastic hemiparesis. You could categorize your differential based on the onset of symptoms. Very quick in onset, think vascular causes like stroke. Less quick in onset, demyelinating conditions, such especially if it's relapsing and remitting, trauma or infections. Now, if it's a slower onset, then you think of malignancy. And this way, you come across as organized and concise in your presentation. The fifth skill is clinical judgment. Once you identify the correct signs and set up a list of differentials, this skill tests how well you investigate and manage. So it's important to keep your list of differentials reasonably short to have enough time to go over how you would investigate and initially manage your patient. The examiner is likely to ask you questions or give you prompts at this point. Now, before I carry on, I would like to ask you to please like the video. It helps to reach more people that hopefully benefit from it. And if you're enjoying the content so far, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Now, let's move on. The sixth skill is managing patients' concerns. This skill is also not tested on examination encounters, as in those stations you don't take a history from the patient to know their concerns. However, it's extremely important and often missed by candidates in the consultation and the communication stations. After you take a thorough history and examination, or after listening to the patient or relative during communication stations, always ask whether they have any concerns. A quick ICE, idea, concern, expectation is ideal. I personally was marked down on a station or two during my exam in this skill. And looking at the feedback, it was mentioned that I did not ask the patient and thus could not be assessed in this skill. So remember, unless you ask, you can't be assessed in this skill. Always, always ask. The last skill is patient welfare. This is your ability in maintaining your patient's comfort, safety, and dignity. You should be able to get full marks in this skill if you treat your patient in a sensitive and professional manner, which I'm sure you are. Now, you will have 2 examiners in each station, which will mark you in each of the skills, and their scores are combined. In consultation stations, you're examined in all the skills, and thus the 2 consultation stations carry a big chunk of your overall score. Now the real question, how to prepare? Now, number 1, start 3 to 6 months before your exam date. I prepared in 6 to 8 weeks, and if I could go back in time, I would start preparing earlier. The most important preparation tool is examining as many patients as possible. I can't stress this enough. Whatever patient encounters you have, turn them into full examinations. If you're getting a chest pain, do a full cardio exam. If you're seeing a patient with breathlessness and ED, take a full history and relevant examination. And time yourself as a consultation station. Get so comfortable with taking history and examining that it would become second nature to you in the exam. Very importantly, present your findings to your colleagues. Find registrars, find consultants, or other colleagues preparing for the exam and present to them. Let them ask you questions, make mistakes, embarrass yourself, right? I think this is vital. Get comfortable with embarrassing yourself. Right. Pastest videos. Subscribe to Pastest and start watching 2 or 3 of their videos a day. Watch the normal examination videos first to get comfortable with the sequence, and then start watching the videos of the different cases. I personally went through one system before moving on to the next one. You can download the video manuscripts. I did this and it made my own notes on them. So when I wanted to review, I didn't have to watch the video again, which can get really boring. Instead, I would just read the manuscript and read my own notes on them. Now, the third point, examination technique and time. Learn your examination sequences by heart. This includes cardio, resp, abdomen, cranial nerves, upper limb and lower limb examinations. Be able to complete the full examination in under 6 minutes, ideally 5 minutes, to give yourself a minute to organize your thoughts before presenting to the examiner. Now, examine your friends and family. Try to do it on a daily basis until you're completely comfortable with the examinations. Again, start early. Now, my fourth point, PACES teaching and courses. Now, if your hospital has PACES teaching, please join as soon as you are thinking about taking PACES, and make sure you're examining patients and presenting. Most UK teaching hospitals have regular PACES teachings. Make PACES groups where you share findings and buddy up to examine patients. This is more important than a PACES course, in my opinion. The last 2 weeks of my exam, most days I would stay a few hours after my shift and go around the wards asking the residents what patients they had with positive signs. I would examine them and then present my findings to a colleague. The last few days, try to find a consultant registrar to take you around to examine a few patients, present it to them, and have them give you constructive feedback. As for PACES courses, there are many different ones and there are mixed reviews. I personally went to Pass PACES, which is a 4-day course held in London. I have friends who went to PACES Ahead. There are many other courses, but these two are the famous ones, the more famous ones. The course was very intense, and it was more about seeing as many patients with as many signs as possible as it was about teaching. So if you do go to a course, which if you have time and money, go for it. If you are in training, then your study budget will cover the cost. I would recommend going 2 to 3 weeks before your exam, when you're almost ready to take the exam. I personally benefited from the course, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. I made the mistake of going very early in my preparation, and I was really overwhelmed and came out feeling less confident than before going to the course, which is weird. But however, it scared me enough to really start preparing. Finally, even though this is a difficult exam, make sure you go with a positive mindset and attitude. This makes a world of difference. You have made it to medical school, you became a doctor, you're most likely in internal medicine training and have already passed both written parts of the MRCP. You are highly qualified, and very soon you will carry that well-deserved MRCP title. So finally, good luck, and don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to the channel. Very soon I'll be doing a live stream where I'll go over more details, and more PACES content is coming very soon. So if you have any questions whatsoever, pop it in the comments below, and I will see you next time.